The moon is moving, not in its regular orbit around Earth, but in ways that violate every principle of celestial mechanics we understand. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has detected mass redistributions inside the moon that cannot be explained by natural geological processes. Seismic monitors left by Apollo astronauts are recording vibration patterns that suggest massive underground construction activity, and most disturbing of all, the moon's rotation is changing in ways that require energy input from an artificial source. Something is happening up there, something we were never supposed to notice. Prepare yourselves, we begin. In 1969, Apollo astronauts placed seismometers on the lunar surface designed to detect moonquakes and provide data about the moon's internal structure. These instruments operated until 1977, transmitting thousands of hours of seismic data that revolutionized our understanding of lunar geology. And the data revealed that the moon rings like a bell when struck by meteorites, suggesting an unusually hollow or structured interior that differs dramatically from Earth's solid core. But recent reanalysis of this decades-old seismic data using modern processing techniques has uncovered patterns that were invisible to 1970s technology. The moon experiences regular seismic events that occur with clockwork precision, repeating on schedules that have nothing to do with tidal forces, thermal expansion, or any known natural phenomenon. These rhythmic vibrations suggest the operation of massive machinery buried deep beneath the lunar surface. The seismic patterns show characteristics identical to what engineers would expect from large-scale industrial operations. Regular pulses indicating rotational machinery, periodic surges suggesting power generation systems cycling on and off, harmonic frequencies that could only result from coordinated mechanical processes operating simultaneously across multiple lunar regions. Advanced signal processing reveals even more disturbing details. Some seismic signatures contain encoded information, mathematical patterns embedded in vibration frequencies that appear designed for long-range transmission. The moon itself may be functioning as a giant communication relay, broadcasting signals into deep space using seismic waves as a carrier medium. The original Apollo scientists dismissed unusual seismic readings as instrumental artifacts or impacts from small meteorites. But the new analysis proves these events occur too regularly and show too much internal organization to result from random natural processes. The moon is experiencing coordinated industrial activity on a scale that dwarfs anything humans have achieved. NASA's reprocessing of Apollo seismic data has identified over 3,000 distinct artificial signatures that were missed during the original analysis. These signatures appear throughout the 8-year recording period, and indicating that whatever machinery produces them has been operating continuously since before humans first reached the lunar surface, and presumably continues operating today. The seismic evidence correlates precisely with other lunar anomalies that have puzzled scientists for decades. Strange magnetic fields in regions where the moon should have no magnetism, heat emissions from areas that should be geologically dead, gravitational variations that suggest massive hollow chambers beneath the surface. Deep moonquakes originating hundreds of miles below the surface show propagation patterns that indicate they travel through artificial chambers rather than solid rock. The acoustic signatures reveal vast underground spaces connected by tunnel networks that span thousands of miles beneath the lunar crust. But the seismic evidence represents just the beginning of evidence that the moon harbors secrets far stranger than anyone imagined. The moon's composition violates fundamental principles of planetary formation. Earth's moon should contain materials similar to Earth's outer layers, formed from debris ejected during a giant impact early in our planet's history. Instead, the moon contains isotope ratios and mineral compositions that indicate it formed in an entirely different region of the solar system before somehow arriving in Earth orbit. Oxygen isotope analysis reveals that lunar rocks contain signatures found nowhere else in the inner solar system. The oxygen isotopes match patterns observed in the outer asteroid belt and certain meteorites that originated beyond Jupiter's orbit. This evidence suggests the moon formed in the cold outer reaches of the solar system before migrating inward through processes that remain completely mysterious. Titanium abundance in lunar rocks exceeds anything found on Earth or in meteorites, by factors that cannot be explained through normal planetary differentiation. The titanium is concentrated in specific lunar regions in patterns that suggest deliberate placement rather than natural geological processes. These titanium-rich zones create the mass concentrations that cause gravitational anomalies affecting spacecraft orbits. The moon's density is lower than it should be for a body of its size composed primarily of rock and metal. Calculations based on lunar mass and volume indicate the moon must contain substantial hollow regions, or large quantities of lightweight materials that have no business existing in a natural satellite. The density anomaly has troubled scientists since the first precise measurements were obtained. Radioactive element distributions in lunar samples show patterns that violate every model of planetary formation. Uranium, thorium, and other radioactive materials are concentrated in the moon's outer layers rather than its core, exactly opposite of what gravitational differentiation should produce. And this inverted distribution could only result from deliberate engineering or manufacturing processes. Lunar rock samples returned by Apollo missions contain microscopic metallic spheres composed of alloys that require extremely high temperatures and controlled atmospheric conditions to manufacture. These spherules appear throughout lunar soil in concentrations that suggest widespread high-temperature industrial processes occurred across the entire lunar surface. Advanced analysis of lunar regolith reveals the presence of synthetic compounds that do not occur naturally anywhere in the solar system. These materials show molecular structures optimized for specific engineering purposes, including heat resistance, electrical conductivity, and structural strength far exceeding natural materials. Saying their widespread distribution indicates large-scale manufacturing and materials processing. Some lunar rock samples contain what appear to be fossilized machine components, made from materials that remain unidentified despite decades of analysis. These microscopic structures show too much regularity and too much sophistication to represent natural crystal formations. They appear to be the degraded remains of nanotechnology embedded in lunar rock during manufacturing processes. The moon's surface shows unusual wear patterns that cannot be explained by meteorite impacts and solar radiation alone. Some regions display erosion characteristics suggesting exposure to industrial processes, chemical treatments, and thermal modifications that would require advanced technology to produce. Spectroscopic analysis of the lunar surface reveals chemical signatures indicating past exposure to extreme electromagnetic fields far stronger than anything the moon's weak magnetic field could generate naturally. These field exposures appear to have modified surface materials at the molecular level, creating alterations that persist across billions of years. The chemical evidence suggests the moon may be an artificial construct manufactured from materials gathered throughout the solar system and assembled using technologies that exceed anything current human science could achieve. But the implications of this possibility extend far beyond questions of lunar composition. The moon's orbit around Earth exhibits characteristics that violate statistical probability to an almost impossible degree. Our satellite maintains a nearly circular orbit at precisely the distance required to make total solar eclipses possible, a coincidence so remarkable that it demands explanation beyond random chance. The moon's orbital radius places it at the exact distance where its apparent size matches the sun's apparent size, as seen from Earth's surface. This precise relationship allows the moon to completely cover the solar disk during total eclipses while still revealing the sun's corona. The probability of this occurring by chance has been calculated at less than 1 in 10 million. Orbital mechanics indicate the moon is slowly receding from Earth at a rate of approximately 3.8 centimeters per year. Working backward through time, this recession rate suggests the moon was much closer to Earth in the past, so close enough to create tidal forces that would have prevented life from developing in coastal regions, where evolution of land-dwelling organisms occurred, but the recession rate itself shows anomalies. The moon's distance from Earth fluctuates in patterns that cannot be explained by tidal interactions alone. These fluctuations suggest artificial course corrections that maintain the moon in an optimal orbit, despite natural forces that should cause greater variation. The moon's synchronous rotation, keeping the same face toward Earth at all times, is often explained as a natural result of tidal locking. However, the timeline required for tidal locking to occur naturally suggests this process should have taken far longer than the moon has existed in its current orbit. The synchronous rotation may have been artificially established rather than naturally evolved. Advanced orbital analysis reveals that the Moon's orbit is too stable for a natural satellite. Computer simulations of lunar orbital evolution show that natural perturbations from the Sun and other planets should have created far more orbital variation than observations detect. The orbital stability suggests active correction systems that continuously adjust the Moon's trajectory to maintain optimal positioning. The Moon's orbital plane is tilted relative to Earth's equator in ways that maximize interesting astronomical phenomena visible from Earth's surface. This tilt allows the Moon to pass through Earth's shadow during lunar eclipses, while ensuring these eclipses occur with frequency that makes them scientifically valuable, but not so common as to be unremarkable. Some orbital characteristics suggest the Moon may have been deliberately placed in its current position to serve specific observational or functional purposes. The orbit provides optimal conditions for monitoring Earth's entire surface, while maintaining stable positioning that would benefit long-term observation and communication systems. Recent precision tracking of lunar orbital elements has detected tiny deviations that occur too regularly to result from random gravitational perturbations. These deviations follow patterns suggesting periodic adjustments that maintain the orbit within extremely tight parameters, despite natural forces that should cause greater variation. The orbital evidence indicates the Moon may function as an artificial satellite placed in precisely calculated position to serve purposes we are only beginning to understand. But even more compelling evidence comes from what lies on the lunar surface itself. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has mapped the Moon's surface at unprecedented resolution, revealing geometric patterns and artificial structures that were invisible to earlier observations. These formations appear throughout both the near and far sides of the Moon, suggesting coordinated construction projects on scales that dwarf any human engineering achievement. High-resolution imagery shows perfectly straight lines, extending for hundreds of kilometers across the lunar surface. These linear features are too regular and too precisely aligned to represent natural geological formations. They appear to be the remains of massive transportation networks or power distribution systems that once connected lunar installations. Geometric patterns visible from orbit include perfect circles, hexagons, and other regular polygons that appear to be the foundations of enormous structures now buried beneath lunar regolith. The geometric precision of these formations exceeds anything that natural processes could produce through volcanic activity or impact cratering. Some lunar regions show grid-like patterns suggesting urban planning on scales that would accommodate populations numbering in the millions. The grids display characteristics of organized settlement, including central hubs, radiating arterial routes, and regular spacing that mirrors city planning principles developed independently on Earth. Certain lunar craters display too much regularity in their positioning and dimensions to result from random meteorite impacts. These craters are arranged in geometric patterns and show uniform depths that suggest they may be artificial excavations rather than impact features. The craters appear designed to provide access to underground facilities while maintaining surface camouflage. Photographic analysis has identified what appear to be massive doors or access hatches built into crater walls and cliff faces. These features show straight edges, regular dimensions, and positioning that suggests they provide entry points to underground tunnel systems. The doors appear designed to blend with natural lunar terrain while remaining functional across geological timespans. Some surface formations show characteristics of controlled demolition or deliberate concealment. Structures appear to have been systematically buried beneath layers of regolith in patterns suggesting organized efforts to hide evidence of lunar construction from orbital observation. Advanced image processing has revealed faint traces of massive domed structures that once covered large surface areas. These domes appear to have been transparent or translucent, creating pressurized environments that could support biological life or sensitive technological operations. The dome foundations remain visible as circular ridges and geometric patterns in surface regolith. Certain lunar regions show albedo variations that correlate with underground structures detected by gravitational and electromagnetic surveys. These surface markings appear to be visual indicators of subsurface facilities, either intentionally placed for navigation purposes or resulting from underground activities that affected surface materials. The far side of the Moon, permanently hidden from Earth, shows dramatically higher concentrations of artificial structures than the near side. This distribution suggests that lunar installations were deliberately positioned to remain unobservable from Earth, possibly to prevent detection by developing civilizations on our planet. Recent analysis of Apollo-era photographs has identified numerous objects and structures that were missed during original image processing. Modern computer enhancement reveals artificial features and images that were dismissed as shadows, lighting artifacts, or unremarkable geological formations when first examined in the 1960s and 1970s. But surface imagery represents only what can be seen from above. The most compelling evidence lies hidden beneath the lunar surface, where ground-penetrating radar has begun to reveal an artificial world. Gravitational mapping conducted by NASA's GRAIL mission discovered massive structures buried beneath the lunar surface that create gravitational anomalies far stronger than natural geology could produce. These mass concentrations, called mascons, were initially attributed to dense volcanic rock formations, but their precise geometric arrangement suggests artificial construction. The mascons are positioned in patterns that form regular geometric shapes when connected, including hexagons, pentagons, and complex symmetrical designs that span thousands of kilometers. These patterns are too precise and too extensive to result from random volcanic activity or impact processes. Advanced gravitational analysis reveals that the mascons are not solid masses, but hollow structures with walls of extremely dense material surrounding empty interior spaces. The wall thickness and internal dimensions suggest these structures were engineered to serve as massive chambers or facilities buried beneath hundreds of meters of lunar regolith. Some mascons show gravitational signatures, indicating they contain active machinery or power generation systems. The gravitational fields fluctuate in regular patterns that correlate with seismic activity, suggesting coordinated operations involving massive moving components or energy manipulation on scales that would require technology far beyond current human capabilities. Ground-penetrating radar surveys have mapped tunnel networks connecting the mascons across vast distances beneath the lunar surface. These tunnels are too regular in dimension and too precisely aligned to represent natural lava tubes. They appear designed for transportation or communication purposes, linking underground facilities across the entire lunar body. The tunnel systems show evidence of artificial construction, including uniform cross-sections, regular support structures, and branching patterns that mirror engineered transportation networks. Some tunnels are large enough to accommodate vehicles or transport systems that could move materials and personnel between distant lunar installations. Electromagnetic surveys detect unusual conductivity patterns in lunar subsurface materials that suggest the presence of metallic structures or advanced materials embedded in the Moon's interior. These conductive zones are arranged in grid-like patterns that resemble power distribution networks or communication arrays. Deep penetrating radar has identified what appear to be massive spherical chambers located deep within the lunar interior. These chambers are too perfectly spherical and too regularly spaced to represent natural voids. They appear to be artificial construction, possibly serving as habitation modules, storage facilities, or power generation centers. Some subsurface structures show thermal signatures indicating they remain warmer than surrounding lunar materials. The heat sources cannot be explained by radioactive decay or solar heating, suggesting active power systems or industrial processes operating beneath the surface. Advanced seismic analysis, combined with gravitational data, has produced three-dimensional models of the lunar interior, revealing structures that resemble multi-level cities built within the Moon's body. These underground complexes appear designed to house large populations while providing protection from radiation, temperature extremes, and meteorite impacts. The subsurface infrastructure appears designed for permanent habitation rather than temporary exploration. The scale and sophistication of underground construction suggests the Moon served as a major center for civilization that required extensive facilities for supporting large populations across extended time periods. But questions of who built these structures and when they were constructed lead to evidence even more disturbing than artificial lunar architecture. Lunar rock samples returned by Apollo missions contain radioactive isotopes that should not exist in natural lunar materials. These isotopes are produced only by nuclear reactions and appear in concentrations that suggest large-scale nuclear activities occurred on the Moon's surface. Plutonium-244 detected in lunar samples has a half-life short enough that its presence indicates nuclear reactions occurred within the last 100 million years. Natural plutonium should have decayed to undetectable levels long ago. The presence of measurable plutonium proves that artificial nuclear processes occurred on the Moon in the relatively recent geological past. Uranium isotope ratios in some lunar samples match signatures produced by nuclear reactors rather than natural uranium deposits. The isotope patterns indicate sustained nuclear chain reactions that consumed uranium fuel while producing specific byproducts characteristic of controlled nuclear power generation. Some lunar rock samples contain microscopic glass spheres with isotope signatures identical to trinitite, the glassy material created by nuclear weapons testing on Earth. These lunar nuclear glasses are distributed across wide areas of the lunar surface, suggesting nuclear detonations occurred in multiple locations during specific time periods. The concentration and distribution of radioactive isotopes correlate with the geometric patterns visible in orbital imagery and the subsurface structures detected by gravitational surveys. Nuclear signatures appear strongest in regions showing the most evidence of artificial construction, suggesting nuclear power or nuclear weapons were integral to lunar industrial operations. Advanced analysis has identified specific radionuclides that are produced only in fast neutron reactors or thermonuclear weapons. The presence of these isotopes proves that whoever operated on the Moon possessed sophisticated nuclear technology, including both power generation and weapons capabilities. Some radioactive signatures appear in lunar samples from regions that show no evidence of current or recent volcanic activity. The nuclear isotopes cannot be explained by natural radioactive decay or cosmic ray interactions. They represent clear evidence of artificial nuclear reactions conducted on a world that should be geologically dead. Lunar soil samples contain ratios of specific isotopes that indicate nuclear waste disposal operations occurred on the Moon. The isotope patterns match what would be expected from long-term storage of spent nuclear fuel or radioactive waste products from large-scale nuclear industry. Certain lunar regions show radiation levels significantly higher than can be explained by cosmic ray exposure or solar wind interactions. These radiation hotspots correlate with locations showing other evidence of artificial activity, suggesting they may be areas where nuclear accidents occurred or where radioactive materials remain concentrated. The nuclear evidence extends beyond power generation to include what appear to be signatures of nuclear warfare. Some lunar regions show isotope patterns and glass formation consistent with nuclear weapons detonations of enormous yield and far exceeding anything humans have tested. The pattern and timing of nuclear signatures suggest multiple episodes of nuclear activity, separated by millions of years. Each episode appears associated with different phases of lunar construction and industrial activity, indicating that nuclear technology remained central to lunar operations across vast time periods. But the nuclear evidence raises the most disturbing question yet. Who possessed the technology to conduct nuclear operations on the Moon millions of years before humans developed atomic energy? The Moon's weak magnetic field should have decayed to essentially 0 billions of years ago, according to standard planetary physics. Natural magnetic fields are generated by liquid iron cores rotating inside planets. But the Moon's core is too small and too cool to support magnetic field generation through this mechanism. Yet localized magnetic anomalies exist across the lunar surface with field strengths that exceed what any natural process could maintain. These magnetic regions are positioned in patterns that correlate with artificial structures detected through other observation methods, suggesting the magnetic fields may be generated by technological systems rather than natural geology. Some magnetic anomalies show characteristics of artificial electromagnets or advanced field generation technologies. The magnetic field configurations are too precise and too stable to result from remnant magnetism in lunar rocks. They appear to be actively generated and maintained by power systems buried beneath the surface. Advanced magnetic surveys have detected field patterns that resemble electromagnetic shielding systems designed to protect specific lunar regions from charged particle radiation. These shield configurations show engineering optimization for maximum protection with minimum power consumption, suggesting sophisticated understanding of electromagnetic field manipulation. Certain magnetic anomalies pulse with regular frequencies that correlate with seismic activity and gravitational variations detected in the same regions. The synchronized fluctuations suggest coordinated operations involving electromagnetic systems, mechanical devices, and power generation facilities working together in integrated technological networks. The magnetic field patterns include geometric arrangements that appear designed for communication or navigation purposes. Some configurations resemble antenna arrays optimized for transmitting and receiving electromagnetic signals across interplanetary distances. Magnetic field measurements show temporal variations that follow patterns inconsistent with natural magnetic processes. The variations occur with clockwork regularity, suggesting control by automated systems that adjust field strengths and configurations according to programmed schedules or in response to detected conditions. Some lunar magnetic regions show field reversals that occur far too rapidly to result from natural geological processes. These reversals appear to be deliberate reconfigurations of artificial magnetic systems, rather than natural magnetic pole shifts. Advanced analysis reveals that certain magnetic anomalies are positioned to create navigation beacons that could guide spacecraft approaching the Moon from specific directions. The beacon patterns appear optimized for spacecraft following trajectories from Earth orbit, suggesting the magnetic systems were designed to support regular traffic between Earth and Moon. The magnetic field evidence indicates the Moon harbors extensive electromagnetic infrastructure that remains active despite the apparent absence of whoever built it. The systems continue operating across millions of years, suggesting power sources and maintenance capabilities that far exceed anything human technology could achieve. But the electromagnetic systems represent just one component of a technological infrastructure whose true scale becomes apparent when examining lunar thermal signatures.